Today's story unravels the rise, turbulence, and lingering mysteries surrounding an American biotech company that once symbolized medical innovation but now embodies investor uncertainty. The name is Sarepta Therapeutics. This company focuses on developing treatments for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a rare inherited disorder that causes progressive muscle degeneration leading to loss of mobility and ultimately respiratory failure. Sarepta's journey reflects the tension between groundbreaking science, complex regulation, and the fragile confidence of investors navigating hope and risk in equal measure. The story begins on September 19th, 2016. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, granted accelerated approval to Sarepta's first therapy, Exondys 51. The accelerated approval pathway allows early access to potentially life-saving drugs for patients with serious conditions, even before full clinical data is available. Normally, a new drug must pass through all three clinical phases: Phase 1 for safety, Phase 2 for efficacy, and Phase 3 for large-scale verification before traditional approval. But Duchenne muscular dystrophy, with no effective treatments at the time, demanded urgency. Sarepta became the rare company to receive that early trust. The approval of Exondys 51 was a breakthrough. For the first time, Duchenne patients had a therapy, albeit an imperfect one. Sarepta's success instantly drew the attention of Wall Street and the scientific community alike. Riding this wave, the company launched two more exon-skipping drugs, Exondys 53 in December 2019 and Exondys 45 in February 2021, cementing its leadership in the niche but high-value field of RNA-targeted therapeutics. Exon skipping is a gene editing technique designed to bypass faulty sections of the dystrophin gene, allowing cells to produce a shortened but partially functional dystrophin protein. While not a cure, it slows disease progression and extends the patient's ability to walk. For families of Duchenne patients, this technology meant hope. For investors, it meant recurring revenue in a rare disease market dominated by high pricing power and low competition. Then came 2023. The year Sarepta entered a new era with Elevidys, its first gene therapy. Elevidys works by delivering a miniaturized, functional dystrophin gene into muscle cells using an adeno-associated virus, AAV, vector. On June 22, 2023, the FDA granted accelerated approval for use in ambulatory boys aged 4 to 5. In most cases, gene therapies require years of long-term data to demonstrate sustained safety and efficacy. But in this case, the FDA moved unusually quickly, driven by patient demand and promising early results. A year later, in 2024, the FDA converted that accelerated approval into traditional approval and expanded the label to include all ambulatory patients aged 4 and older. Sarepta's triumph seemed complete. Quarterly product revenue surpassed $600 million, with Elevidys alone contributing nearly $370 million. Analysts began to predict full-year revenue approaching $2.5 billion, and optimism about profitability spread through the market. But by May 2025, cracks appeared. In its Q1 earnings report, Sarepta cut its full-year revenue guidance to $2.6 billion, lower than expected despite strong sales figures. Typically, companies increase guidance early in a blockbuster drug's launch due to stronger than forecast adoption. The downward revision sent a troubling signal. Operational headwinds, supply issues, or perhaps regulatory tensions were emerging behind the scenes. 2 months later, in July 2025, the company shocked investors again. Sarepta announced a drastic restructuring plan, reducing its workforce by 36%, or about 500 employees, and cutting $400 million in annual costs. For a commercial-stage biotech with multiple approved products, downsizing amid growing sales was deeply unorthodox. Typically, companies in this phase expand manufacturing capacity and sales teams. Sarepta's reversal suggested preemptive damage control, anticipating rising safety oversight costs or potential limitations on patient eligibility. Around the same time, the FDA added a boxed warning to Elevidys for acute liver injury and liver failure. Reports had surfaced of severe hepatic complications among non-ambulatory patients soon after infusion. Normally, AAV-based gene therapy side effects appear gradually as the body adapts to the viral vector over time. The sudden onset of toxicity was an anomaly. Scientists speculated that differences in liver enzyme expression or immune cross-reactivity in non-ambulatory patients could have triggered the adverse events. The FDA responded by recommending a pause in product shipments. Most biotech firms in such circumstances either suspend all dosing or proceed under a risk management plan. Sarepta took a rare hybrid approach, continuing Elevidys treatments for ambulatory patients while voluntarily suspending dosing for non-ambulatory ones. This half measure underscored the company's attempt to preserve both regulatory goodwill and commercial momentum. By late July 2025, the FDA partially lifted its hold, concluding that one death initially attributed to Elevidys was unrelated to the drug. Nonetheless, the therapy remained restricted for non-ambulatory patients. The mixed outcome created confusion in the market. Was this a sign of recovery or deepening uncertainty? In August and September 2025, Sarepta resumed shipments of Elevidys for ambulatory patients. Yet investor confidence barely improved. Normally, full traditional approval marks the start of stability for biotech stocks. In Sarepta's case, the opposite occurred. Volatility intensified, and the stock continued to slide. Here lies the first mystery. Despite robust sales and FDA validation, why does the market continue to doubt Sarepta? The answer lies in the fragile foundation of its business model. Most of Sarepta's products remain approved under the accelerated pathway, meaning their commercial lifespans hinge on confirmatory trials. If final data fail to confirm efficacy, the FDA could revoke approval, a risk that haunts investors. Sarepta's revenue, therefore, is real, but provisional. The second mystery is the timing of its restructuring. When sales are climbing, companies typically hire more, not fewer. Sarepta's decision to downsize at the height of its growth cycle hinted at foresight or foreboding. Perhaps management anticipated a tightening regulatory climate or an expensive new phase of clinical investment to maintain approval status. The third mystery lies in regulatory contradiction. The FDA expanded Elevidys' label to more patients while simultaneously imposing stricter safety warnings. Traditionally, such duality doesn't occur. Label expansions usually coincide with reduced caution language, signaling growing confidence. This inconsistency suggested lingering internal debate at the agency over how to balance patient access with risk management. Sarepta's saga remains unfinished. Exondys 51, Vyondys 53, and Amondys 45 must still prove definitive clinical benefit in post-marketing trials, while Elevidys faces the task of demonstrating long-term safety and functional durability. The company's cost cuts may ease near-term cash burn, but its valuation ultimately depends on data clarity, regulatory trust, and the ability to turn scientific promise into predictable revenue. Investors are left wrestling with two core questions. Why can't Sarepta, despite multiple commercial products, achieve lasting market confidence? And why does every regulatory milestone trigger only short-lived optimism before the next downturn? These questions have no easy answers. Yet when four critical elements, clinical consistency, regulatory stability, sustainable sales growth, and reliable cash generation, finally align, Sarepta Therapeutics' narrative will shift from uncertainty to conviction. The Value Stir channel welcomes your insights and suggestions about listed, pre-IPO, or private companies and crypto assets that deserve deeper investigation. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your ideas drive the direction of future episodes. And to our dedicated viewers, thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing our content. Your engagement inspires us to deliver sharper analysis and better stories every time. This was Value Stir.